Hello, everybody. Okay, so today is my much anticipated, at least from my end, much anticipated video on Bitcoin. Everyone loves to talk about Bitcoin right now. We're in April of 2026. We are officially 6 months into the crypto bear market, and we have had potentially a change of character as of Tuesday when this news was announced between Iran and the U.S. And we saw Bitcoin go up to as high 72s, I want to say, which admittedly has exceeded my price target. I did not expect really any more. Max was 72,000 for me. So it would be dishonest of me not to come out and start questioning my thesis, right? And has anything technically changed um, because of this pump? Do we need to reevaluate as a bear the bear case and see if it's technically invalidated or is it at risk of being invalidated? Those are two different things, okay? I'm going to go over Bitcoin in the daily, the weekly, and the minute chart. That 20-minute chart, I like to do for my swing trading. I want to be clear on update you guys first, though. Very briefly, like I said in the last video, my tradition is I talk about my previous play and I update you on how it's going, so you can keep track of, are these plays actually successful? Because it's easy for me to talk about something and then it ends up being a terrible play, and I can just sweep it under the rug and talk about something the next day. I think it's more honest if we stay on topic. I go back to the previous play from the previous video, and you guys can get a sense of my win rate. I don't need to tell you. I don't need to boast or make claims. You can see for yourself, right? So I want to be clear. My very first video, so not the video yesterday, was about the metals. Got it wrong in the short term. However, I did buy a decent position today in silver. Now, I told you guys yesterday I was in a small starter on silver, and those were down about 15%, I think, today when the market opened. No surprise there. September put options against SLV. And we'll briefly, before we get into Bitcoin, I am going to show you the silver chart and why I did that. As you can see, I'm just going to do the daily chart because I don't want to spend too much time on this, but we have a very clear rejection candle today. And I saw that forming in the day around $75, $76. I alerted my money team that I was adding into my position. So now currently I believe I'm down about 3 to 4%, which is much better than how the day started. And my position size is larger now. So with price sort of bearishly moving right now, my account is more leveraged to go in the direction that I expect it to go, right? So I didn't feel very much pain today, and I'm expecting a pullback in silver tomorrow, which my account is now a little more leveraged in that direction, if that makes sense. So we'll see what happens. I'm short silver. I think it will go to the bottom of this trend line around 71.50. I'm looking at that potentially to cover my position if it gets respected, okay? I'll be in the money by then, so I would get out. So that is one trade I have on the go. But oil, we talked about last time. Guys, this was an absolute banger. Let's not mince words. But to add to that, what did I say yesterday, guys? What did I say? It was actually, the price was below the channel, and I went out on a limb and said this is going to close back in the channel. Just watch tomorrow. Bear trap. So if you're a momentum trader and you tried to short off support, which I never do, I never short support. I don't even care if it breaks support. I always get in on a resistance. If we break above, I stop out. That's it. That's the name of the game. So, oh, there we go. The perfect timing. The futures have just opened at 6 o'clock. Oil is now here. I would expect a back test of this trend line tomorrow. Do not be surprised if we wick down to $95. I am in some call options now in USO. I have covered my short position in deep profit, rotated into some calls. Those are up a few percentage. I also day traded it with my money team. We did very well going long on oil today at $92, $93. We wrote it up, took profit. It came back down to 93, 94, got back in, wrote it up again. So it was a fun day trading. Offset those paper losses in those runners I held. But oil is looking really good. I'm long right now. Now, I just want to be clear. If this were to break tomorrow, I'm going to be out of the trade and I'll take the small loss on the current position I have. I'm also not going to get complacent as a bull if we have a little mini rally, because the market could just pump next week, and then we roll over in oil. That is a potential bull case for the markets, right? We get a little dead cat bounce in oil, and then it finally rolls out of the channel. I am expecting a little move higher, possibly to the midpoint around 108. That would involve the markets going significantly lower next week, which is my prediction, but I'm not like totally convinced of it. But I do think it's a potential situation for at minimum a healthy pullback in the markets. So yeah, that's oil right now. I just wanted to get that out of the way. Let's go into Bitcoin. I know that's what on everyone's mind right now. Am I wrong? Did I get it wrong in Bitcoin for the first time, maybe ever in my Bitcoin trajectory? Did I get my Bitcoin kind of macro thesis wrong? And I think, I'm allowed to strike out on occasion, and I'm willing to accept I could be wrong here. But listen, I'm still sticking to my guns. As long as the technicals allow me to be stubborn, I will remain stubborn. And what I can tell you right now is Bitcoin has done a very impressive thing. It has broken above support. Previous support which became resistance was broken. That is in some way it is bullish. There is no denying that. But here's the but. We do not have confirmation of this break of resistance. And what I mean is we do not have an additional candle that's closed above the high around what is that 72.8 give or take. We do not have that. We did kind of this indecision spinning top candle today. It's a neutral candle as far as I'm concerned. I will let you guys know I did add to my IBIT puts today. I'm still down, but I think I'm down like 5% now because I averaged down into that position. Even if Bitcoin is going to invalidate my whole thesis, I would expect to pull back to this trend line, turn it into support, and then we send it higher, and then I have to put on the dunce cap for a few weeks that I was completely wrong. But that would, if we went to 70,500, that's going to put my position in the money, and I probably, depending on what happens here, I might just get out of the trade. We'll have to see. But let's not beat around the bush. Let's talk about Bitcoin. What's going on? So here's what I will say to you if you're wondering how you should play Bitcoin. Okay, I'm still short, and I'll tell you why I'm still short on it. Even though this is not an A plus trade, so I'm not YOLO. I'm not overly heavy right now. I will tell you this: the risk to reward is still good, very good if you're a bear. There's a little bit of uh, uncertainty given the fact that we've broken above resistance, but crypto can play these games. It hasn't confirmed. It also did not confirm down here. If you look, I thought it had confirmed originally, and I was wrong. It had not confirmed. We had the original candle broke. It never closed below. Look, closed. Nope, didn't go below the low. So you were getting in a little early shorting down here, and admittedly I did, and I actually did pretty well except for the last runner that's in loss right now. Every other trade, I know, I think there was one I took a small loss on, but generally I got away unscathed shorting crypto down here. And we've now broken above, so this is the risk when you do not have confirmation. You got to be careful shorting on a break of support. I just don't really like to do that. I was originally shorting up here, and I told everyone I short resistance. That's what I think a smart trader should do. Respect resistance until otherwise proven. And we got rejected up at 76. Wrote it down, and I covered around 71. I think a few weeks ago. So Bitcoin, yeah, at this juncture, it is interesting. What I will tell you is this: we will absolutely know by next week if it's game on for the bulls. And we know by next week because I have this descending line of resistance that starts all the way back from the cycle top at 126, and we're about to collide with it with this trend, with this ascending line of support. It will be forced to make a move by next Monday, next Tuesday. So we absolutely will know what's going on by then in crypto. I can tell you that right now. So that is very interesting. Is there going to be something that comes out in the Middle East next week? Good news or bad news? What I will tell you is the market has now priced in a best case scenario. We had a 3.5% rip today in the Nasdaq. That is an overreaction. I'm not saying it can't sustain itself. I'm saying it's an overreaction. They're assuming a peace agreement. They're assuming a solution within the next 2 weeks. That means if if there's any pivot south of an agreement, short of an agreement, the market's going to tank. I just want you guys to be clear on that. I don't know what's going to happen yet. All I can do is follow the candles, and what I can tell you is the short thesis is not invalidated, but it is in question. It is in question. There is no question. There's no question to that. Where we are. So I'm just following this price action. If we explode higher tomorrow, which I would be shocked to happen, if we were to gap up over 73, that's it. And we close. We have to close, right? I'm not going to fall for a wick. But if we open and then we have a great day, the bulls don't sell, and we close, it could fake out. But I think at that point, I would just give up. I'm going to have to sort of call it a day on my thesis. Now, I'm not going to give you the bull case because I just think it's playing it both ways. Listen, there's too many traders, I think, out here that they give you like 1,000 scenarios that could happen, so they're never wrong. Listen, I've given you my scenario. If this doesn't happen, I'm wrong. End of story. You can listen to someone else who's bullish for their bull case and listen to them because I'm not going to give it, right? I'm a bear on Bitcoin. We're in the crypto winter, and if price goes higher, that's all we got, man. I'm wrong, and we'll have to move on. At this point, I'm not. I'm definitely, my thesis is definitely being threatened, but I will tell you technically it's not invalid. So that's kind of where I stand. Tomorrow is going to be very interesting. I told you guys I'd have a better answer for you by the end of today, and that's why I'm ready. I'm able to talk at length about my thesis because we have more price action to work with. So that's Bitcoin. Ethereum is also telling a very interesting story. Actually, I don't want to go to Ethereum yet. I want to go to the weekly chart. Well, actually, let's go to so this is the short time frame on Bitcoin. So what I can tell you is that we have rejection up here. We have a double top. We also had it here. I want to be clear. This is short term, right? So we rejected and we retraced, but then we ripped. So I'm not saying it's going to 60,000 because of this price action. I'm saying this suggests to me we might have a pullback tomorrow in crypto. Okay. How low? I would expect at least down to this trend line. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen. This is bearish price action until it closes above here. That shows you why I have the 73,000 in my head, because that would be closing above this high, and that would be very bullish. I'm not thinking that's going to happen. I think we're going to pull back tomorrow. Now the weekly chart, I just want to give a macro outlook now on Bitcoin. We're in April, but I want to be clear. You have to be a little careful comparing the past months of the past bear market, the 2022 bear market, because this bear market happened earlier, right? So anything that happened in the bear market last time is actually happening later this time, right? Because this was an earlier bear market, because I believe the halving date was also earlier compared to 2020, right? But yeah, so you can very clearly see April was a terrible month in the last bear market. But that said, we were maybe here. Pardon me. This may have been our April, right? So my theory is June. Okay, maybe a month or two. We topped a month earlier this cycle, right? So give or take, it's about 2 months. We could be about maybe here right now, somewhere here. So there's not a lot more downside left. There was about, well, and I'm not taking this as gospel, guys, because history repeats. History rhymes. It doesn't repeat, right? I don't want to just I'm not going to do a fractal or a copy paste of this chart and put it over here and superimpose it over this chart, because that's not the way I operate. I'm just going off the price action we have now. But you can see we had about a 35% correction at that point in the bear market last time. So 35% now would be about 46,000. So it's interesting. I mean, I got to tell you, Bitcoin is surprising me without a doubt. But I want to add that Bitcoin will do this to a bear, and it'll trick you into giving it respect before it dumps, meaning giving it bullish respect. So the bears get a little bullish and then it tanks. And what that psychologically is, that's the market makers liquidating all the shorts, stopping them out, and then the longs get FOMO, and then they liquidate the longs and go down, right? And the shorts are out of their position. So this could be a big liquidity hunt. I want everyone to be mindful of that. But April was a bearish month in the last bear market. That's something to keep in mind. We're only a week into April, guys. It's still early. But I will absolutely tell you this on the weekly. Look where we are right now. I mean, you can't make this up, guys. My trend lines are fire. Love me or hate me, make fun of me or not. Hey, I'll make fun of myself if I get this wrong. Right? I'm and I'll and I am I'm a bit of a crap disturber. I get it with some people. So hit me up. Give me the ridicule if I get it wrong. But what I will tell you is we are on look at that. We are on resistance right now. So I think even if you are skeptical of my thesis, the risk to reward favors going short. Because if it breaks above, you just get out, move on. But if it goes down, I mean, look at this. We could retrace all the way to this candle by what would say the second week of April. That's about 37,000. I'm not thinking that's going to happen. I want to be clear. I'd be shocked if we did that. But if we went to the middle of the channel, it's 52,000 by the end of the month. So you got to ask yourself, risk to reward. Do you really want to go long when you're underneath resistance? I don't do that personally. That just is I'm not saying it's not going to work, but it's gambling, right? We don't have confirmation. And I don't trade breakouts in this market. I've told my money team that. I'm done with that. There's been so many fake outs in this range bound market that there's too many rug pulls trying to trade breakouts. You just buy support, you sell resistance. So that's kind of where I'm at. Bitcoin is on resistance. By next week, it's either going to have a decent, if it has a decent week at this point, like if it just goes sideways for a week, it looks like it's good to go. It's going to go higher and I'm going to be wrong. So for me to be right, we have to start dumping like very soon, like end of this week. Something has to happen in the Middle East. I'm not wishing that on anyone in the Middle East. I'm just saying, like, price action wise, just strictly talking money here, something bad's going to have to happen. Oil's going to have to spike. Um, Assuming the fear trade on oil is still alive, which I do think it is. I sold my puts today on that, as mentioned. We we could close the candle lower, maybe in the under 70 this week. Open next week around 70,000, and then dump. That's what has to happen for the bear case, for my bear case to hold. So, guys, the burden of proof is now on me a little bit. Let's be fair, right? There's a lot of downward price action that has to happen in the next week for me to be right. And I'm willing to put my money into it. If I'm wrong, I'll stop out. I'll take a small loss. I'm totally okay with that. See, I'm willing to take small losses. People will hear me and go, "Oh, he's still bearish. I'm going to go into puts." And then it goes above my key levels and they do hopium. So if you're going to do hopium, do not follow me on these short trades. If you're going to follow my levels and respect the levels and get out when I get out, then it's your money. You decide what you want to do. But I'm short crypto right now. Full disclosure. I'm also short, drum roll, Ethereum. I alerted everyone today in the Discord, guys. I went short. I sold ETH puts yesterday before the pump. Made 5% on those puts. Nothing to write home about, but they would be smoked today if I held them. I re-entered at a better price, literally almost at the top today, around 22.30, I think is where I alerted. I didn't quite get this 22.50, but 22.30. Here's what I'm going to tell you about Ethereum. This thing is, if it's going to go bearish, you're going to know real soon, guys. You're going to know in the next week. And this has to go pretty darn low because next week resistance will be 21.50. So if we close this weekly candle above that, we're now above this descend overhead resistance. That's bullish, right? I'm not I'll have to start doubting myself for sure. But again, risk to reward, guys. If we open and close, I don't think crypto's going much higher this week. The market, I think, has exhausted itself to the upside. But say it goes a little bit higher, we close the candle, we probably get a retrace next week, and then I'm going to be out. I'm going to say, whoa, I got that wrong. And everyone's going to say, but Parker, we're pulling back. Yeah, to turn this into support before we send it. And that's a possibility. I have to now understand that could happen, and I don't want to play it both ways, though. I'm still bearish. I'm still predicting a pullback. Because I it's not fair for me to start, trying to play it both ways now that the price is moving against me. That's what emotional traders do, and I'm not here to please people in by being an emotional trader and telling people what they want to hear to satisfy their bias, guys. That's just not how I work. I'm telling you what the technicals are saying to me, and we're on resistance on Ethereum. That's where I stand. We're on resistance. I don't go long under resistance. I short it, and I assume it gets respected. If it doesn't, I take a small loss and move on. So I'm short Ethereum. This is a weekly chart. Look at that. Look at, guys, come on. Give me a slow clap. This line has been here for I think I put this line in since the start of the bear market, and we just hit it today. Everyone, I'm seeing people go out, oh, Bitcoin's going to 130. See how quickly the market sentiment, guys, shifts in a second, and I start seeing the crazy price targets. Bitcoin isn't even over 75,000, and people think it's going to go to 130, 150 this year. I'm going to tell you right now, that's not going to happen. I'm quitting my job if Bitcoin goes to 130, because that is going to violate every tradition in the 4-year cycle, and I am an absolutist when it comes to that. And I say these things, I go out on a limb, guys. You know, I say these things before they happen. I risk my reputation, because that's part of trading, right? I don't go in all into my positions, obviously, but I go all into my opinions, right? I'm not about here to be, this fence sitter that you don't really know where I stand. So Ethereum is rejecting right now. It doesn't mean it won't break up and go above. Interestingly enough, we had this deviation. This is called a deviation, where price briefly pierced and bull trapped long traders. So this is kind of weird, admittedly, but you can see candle broke, never confirmed, and then went back in to the channel. So it is a little weird. I don't love wedge patterns where you've got a break of support. It just isn't very clean. So that means the probability of this being a true rising wedge pattern that breaks the downside, the credibility of it goes down, in my opinion, just a little bit. Doesn't mean it won't play out. It's not, remember what I said, the cleaner it looks, the more reliable it is, right? But right now we are rejecting. So I played for that. The bull case would be, we have a little consolidation. Excuse me. We have a little bit of consolidation down here, and then we rip, right? I'm a bear. I think we go here, we go back to here, maybe on Friday or something, and then we just tank over the weekend. Something happens in the Middle East. But this is still not above resistance. I got to give Ethereum full respect, though. But it's doing what wedges do, what rising wedges do. It's putting in higher highs. That's normal. Higher lows, higher highs. This, again, I'm going to say this almost every video, guys. Ditch the emotions, ditch the hopium, ditch the X posts, follow the charts. It's how I shorted oil, and everyone was saying 200 a barrel. I said, not a chance. And look where we are. Now people are probably saying, holy crap, oil is going to 80 next week. That's also not going to happen. I'm long oil now. So that's something to look at. I would expect this to go lower tomorrow, potentially a back test, and then we reject over the weekend. That's my bear case. It's still bearish, guys. It's still in bearish consolidation until this breaks, and we will know. Look at that. Well, this is what's interesting is this actually this line intersects like now, Friday, before Bitcoin. So Ethereum is telling us something, that we might get a move earlier than what Bitcoin is suggesting. The Bitcoin chart is saying. And I'm looking at this really for the first time. I mean, I've looked at the Ethereum chart. I look at it a lot, but I'm processing this information in real time with you. I don't pre-plan any of this. I might sometimes I might even change my mind on the spot in these videos. That's how I operate. But I will say, this is just, it's testing the bears' constitution right now. It's testing their intestinal fortitude. I don't know what else to say. It's testing their patience. It's scaring the bears, right? Seeing this price action. But when bulls get greedy, that's when I short. And I have to tell you, I got more bearish today on the markets, because no one was messaging me about what puts I was buying. We took a loss on Amazon. I'll grant, I got out of Amazon. I took a bit of a bath on that, but I started buying more puts today. I did. I started buying puts on silver. I added to my Avgo puts, which, that was a bit of a risk because it has been showing strength, but if it gaps up tomorrow, I'm out. But I added to silver. I like it, and I shorted Ethereum and Bitcoin mostly, and I'm pretty happy with that. I mean, I want to see what happens. The entry is really good. So even if I'm wrong small. I'm totally okay with that. I'll live to fight another day being wrong small. But I'll have some explaining to do to you guys for sure, because I've been very vocal that Bitcoin's going to 50,000 this month. It's a very bold take. I get it, but no, fortune favors the bold, right? You got to do it. So that's the charts right now on crypto. I want to show one more chart, and we're gonna wrap it up. I don't want these videos to go too long, but I want to just show a little bit of. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. Of USDT dominance. Oh God, charts are crazy, man. I told everyone in my money team, guys, it's all on record, and they'll back this up. I said the best time to go short crypto for the next leg down is on the retest of this trend line, and look what happened. Look where we are. I said that up here. We weren't even down here yet. I'm like, is it really going to go that low? And it boom, look at that. Now, here's one thing I'll give the bulls. This is an M pattern. These are bearish patterns. This is a sign of that momentum is weakening in favor of the bears. So that's one thing I have to grant. That we have this is not a very pretty looking pattern. This could even be argued as a potential head and shoulders. So we could dump in Bitcoin and then just roll over. So it's this doesn't get me that excited. I just find it interesting that we did a retest. We have retraced previous resistance turn support. So if we're going to see a dump, and my thesis is going to be right, it needs to happen, guys, like a couple days. The latest early next week. If we don't start seeing crypto selling off, then I think I'm wrong. Certainly after, and I'm not trying to move the goalpost, but if end of next week we don't have a serious dump in the market, I'm wrong. I'm going to come out and say it. We absolutely need to start rolling over. If you're a bear, we got to start. No more waiting around. The only other argument as well is this is also a rejection candle. So there is an argument that this is sort of similar to oil. You've got this rejection inside bar. For who cares that it broke resistance and it rolls over? That could happen. And I'm going to be wrong. I'm going to have to admit it. But that is something that is potentially a scenario, because this is a rejection candle inside of a bullish candle. This means at least that the move up might not be as strong as it was last time, because we didn't have that rejection candle. So those are just some thoughts for you guys. I'm still bearish on crypto, but am I completely as confident as I was a week ago? No, I'm not. I'm not going to pretend to you guys, but I'm still short. And we'll see what happens. But I did want to mention all this to you guys, because I know you want to know. You were curious what I was thinking. Have I completely shifted? Am I wrong about Bitcoin? No, but I could be. I will know in a week if I'm dead wrong, and it will be the first time that I've been dead wrong on crypto. Maybe pretty much since the start of the last bull market. But yeah, so that's kind of where it is right now. Technically not invalidated. I'm still playing it short, and the risk to reward has never been better as a short trader, at least in the last few months. So I'm going to leave it there with you guys. I hope that was insightful. We'll see you on the next video. Thank you so much.